Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Greg, for bringing these incredible speakers to speak to our hearts and souls. And again, if you were at the last, and by show of hands, how many were at the last convention we had in Las Vegas? Raise your hand. Man, who was the best speaker voted in the entire convention in light of the Ed Miletts and the Greg Capps and, no disrespect, the Jeff Levitins? Who was the best speaker? It's this next one coming up. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we've been able to leverage the leadership of this group so we could have brought in anybody. Jeff talked about this at the house the other day. We could have brought in anybody. As we know, he could have brought the Ed Miletts. He could have brought you name it, whatever the names that are on the leaders bulletin, on the record books, the ones that we all look up to. He could have brought anybody. But they chose these last few keynote speakers. Again, with Wazma and again, Leland, unbelievable. But I got to admit, I remember when Johanna came into the business. I remember when Adam came into the business. And I remember when Jamie was talking about him and speaking about him. And I remember watching them from the stage. But I got to tell you, when I saw her climb up on that stage last year, it hit me. And in this room today, it hit me. How many of you were touched by her story earlier? How many are ready to be moved and inspired again in spirit like never before? Say yes. Then get on your feet and please help me welcome to the stage one last time, Miss Johanna Mockett.
Thunder, feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder.
Get up, ready?
Feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder.
Whoosh, boom. So honored and grateful to be here. Thank you so much to Jeff and Greg and Rob and Tiffany Day. I mean, what an honor. They have poured so much into me, they don't even realize. Isn't it amazing that you can recruit and build, and then the ripple effect of how that changes other people's lives? It's insane. And I'm so grateful to have the reputation of the best convention speaker, but dang, how do you follow the best speech? And here's the thing though, we're not in like a competition, speaking competition. So it's great to be a great speaker, and I do feel like God gave me a gift to speak, and I told him I would spend the rest of my life speaking for him. But this isn't a speaking competition. This is a recruiting and building competition. So what I'm about to talk to you about is recruiting and building, because that's what changed our lives. That's what changed Adam and my life, was when we got so committed and focused and flushed everything from our minds but recruiting and building. So if this, what I'm about to share with you, is gold, if you take it and you implement it and you get really good at it and you decide that you're gonna go recruit and build a big base shop and change your life and change thousands of people's lives and have a ripple effect of literally that you can't even imagine happen. Who wants that? Who would like that to happen for them? All right. So take notes like your life depends on it, because it does. Let's get my, I have a clicker. Yay. Okay, so it's okay to win big. In fact, it's preferred. So let's go. This is Adam and I when we were little. Aren't we better looking now? I'm like, you know, when you win big, you get more attractive as you age. So this is like one of our first wealth bowls, and this is our we thought it would be cool. We were young when we hit SMD. We're still young, by the way. But when we hit SMD, we thought, you know, instead of like professional button-down shirts, let's have hoodies. At the time, it seemed like a good idea. But that was our first Rockets hoodie. That's our team name. But let's get right on into it. So these are 10 key points to building a big base shop. A base shop, for those of you that are maybe new, a base shop is your team. So 10 key points to building your team. And all great things come from those who build a big base shop. So getting good at recruiting and building a big base shop is the best thing to get good at in this business. So 1, decide you're gonna be big. Just make that decision that you're gonna be big. Now, why is it that we recruit? Think about it. If you know why you're doing something, you'll figure out how to get it done, right? So why do we recruit? 1, we recruit because the marketplace demands it. Didn't you see the need that Leland was just talking about? You've been out in the field at all. If you've been out in the field at all, you see that families are underinsured. They're in debt. They don't know, they have no idea. Maybe they're putting away some money in their 401k, but they have no idea if that's ever going to get them to a place to retire comfortably ever. And retirement, those of us that are entrepreneurs, I don't even like the word retirement. I never want to retire. I want to just keep building till I can't anymore. But here's what I do know. My grandma had that philosophy as well. She, though, was an employee. She was an employee, and she was a successful businesswoman, and at a time when that was rare, and she made a lot of great money, and she spent a lot of great money, and she was over generous, lived on credit cards, and her whole retirement plan was, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to work till I die. That's what I love to do. Until she was 75 years old and woke up and had a brain aneurysm, but did not die because she's a fighter. She lived for another 10 years completely unable to work. And she had nothing to show for all of those years that she worked so hard. So guess who took care of her? She had 6 children, and thankfully one. One was in a position to be able to take care of her, and that was my parents. So either you might never want to retire, but you mentally or physically might enter into a stage of life where you no longer can, so you better be prepared, right? So either the message from my grandma is save money and build assets, or have a lot of kids and hope one of them can take care of you. No, just, you know what I mean. So we recruit because the marketplace demands it. There's all of this whole wealth transfer of money going from 401ks that has to be moved, and it would take 3 generations of the licensed trained professionals we have in our industry just to service that, let alone everything else. So why are we expanding? Because the marketplace demands it. Make sense? Number 2, because it changes people's lives. Somebody, when I was 22, sat down and did a financial plan for me. Christina Guevara did my plan. Is that what changed my life? No, it's because she recruited me that changed my life. I mean, I'm grateful that I became a client at 22, and I'm grateful that I implemented that education right away. But what changed our life was getting in this environment, was getting poured into by leadership, by having our associations change, by having our vision stretch, by believing that we were capable and worthy of success, and then given a proven, simple system to be able to go out and make that happen. That's what changed our life. So somebody recruited us. How could we not? I tell my children, when you've been given a gift, it's our job. We must use it. This business was a gift given to us, this opportunity. We must share it, right? So we recruit, number 2, because it changes people's lives. And number 3, we recruit because it changes our life. Adam and I were struggling business. It took us 7 years. We don't have a story like Leland and Wasma. But I love our story because it's ours. It took us 7 years to hit our $100,000 ring. We were young. We had to grow. We had to learn. We grew in this business. Our mindset shifted in this business. So we had to develop and get better and hone our skill. We were bad for a long time. But we got better. We never gave up. Each day we worked a little bit more, right? We listened to Greg Kapp's words enough, and it changed the way we thought about ourselves, right? And so it took us 7 years to hit our $100,000 ring. But then every year after that, we increased it by, last year, we increased it by over 100,000 each year after that, right? Not bad. Not bad because of the compounding effect, but what changed, what made us go from struggling, from inconsistent cash flow and inconsistent production and inconsistent recruiting was flushing everything from our mind but recruiting and building. As soon as we did that, and we got 3 months in a row of double-digit recruiting, we hit 100,000. Isn't that crazy? That's it. And then for the last 5 years, we've never, ever gone below 10 in our base since then and never even really tried. It's just because of that compound effect, right? Does that make sense? Okay, I need your feedback. I'm just that type of person, so give it to me, please. So 1, decide you're gonna be big. What happened was we made a decision. Whatever you don't hate, you tolerate. I hated being small. I hated being broke. I hated struggling. I hated fighting about money. I hated not being able to just get my nails done. Like, dude, I just want to get my nails done and not stress about the money. That's it. That's it. So simple. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to have to say no. I hated walking into an event. I hated going to convention with an attendee badge. It's like everyone has the attendee badge. I at least need to have an SMD badge. And then I hated going in and then there being a different line, CEO and above. It's like, I want to get into that line. I hated walking into an event and no one knowing my name. I wanted people to know who I was. I hated it so bad that hate was bigger than staying small. It was like, fine, I'd rather get uncomfortable and face my fears and go talk to people and make phone calls than still struggle. So we made a decision to be big. And we told our team when we were a little tiny team, we said, we're the #1 team. We're the #1 team. They don't know it yet, but we know it. We know it on the inside, we're #1. We know that we're #1 in heart. We're #1 in passion. We know that we're going to do the right thing 100% of the time. We know we're going to help everybody. We're going to give everybody a shot who's deserving of it, who's ethical and moral. We're going to give them a shot to win big, to change their life, and one day they'll know our names. One day everyone's going to wish they were on our team. One day they're going to see who we are. We're going to have a sea of purple, because our team color is purple, and we'd sell them the dream on our team and where we were going when we were small. So do you think your team gets excited like, we're going to be 233 on the Leaders Bulletin? No. Do you think when you got married, imagine you get married and you go on your honeymoon and you come home and your sweetheart, you're at dinner and your sweetheart says, you know what, honey, I've got big plans for us. We're going to just get by. You're like, oh no, reverse, right? No, when you start up the season in sports and let's say you're in college and you're on the sports team or high school and your coach comes in and goes, guys, I've got big plans for our team. We're going to come in 5th place. No! You'd be like, we need a new coach. So you as a leader start selling the dream to your team that you're going to be big, that we're going to build a big base shop. We're going to be the #1 team. And you know what? You start off being #1 in your office, and then #1 in your hierarchy, and then #1 in the bigger hierarchy, legacy, and then #1 in the company, right? But maybe you start with, we're going to be the #1 phone zoners tonight. We're going to be the #1 team at booking appointments. And then we're going to be the #1 team at having the most invites, right? We're going to have the most guests at the BPM. And so when you start saying we're going to be #1 on those small things and then you prove it, your team starts to believe you, and so do you. When you make those small promises to yourself and your team, they start to believe the bigger things, and you do too, right? So find ways to be #1 in something, and then increase those things. This is gold if you actually do this. Are you realizing that? I hope you are. Okay, so decide you're going to be big. Declare it publicly and often, right? I just talked about that. We're #1. Declare it. What did Leland just do? He declared his intentions to all of you. Was it for you? It was for him. Because now his butt's on the line, and he's like, oh crap, that whole group knows what I just said I'm going to do, so I better go do it. That was for him, right? So declare it publicly and often. EEI all the time. What's EEI? Energy, enthusiasm, intensity. Nobody wants to follow somebody who's like, wah, wah. Nobody, right? You have to have energy. Like, do I have energy right now? I have that every day at the office. Do I feel energetic all the time? Heck to the no. I get myself in a peak state. I have to. There are many times where I'm tired. Guys, pretty much at any given moment, I could lay down and fall asleep. I got 3 kids and a big team. At any given moment, if I sit still too long, I got to stab a pen in my leg just to stay awake sometimes. I don't always feel energetic, but I've developed the habit of getting myself in a mental, physical state that's excited. Because why? Because people are attracted to enthusiasm, intensity, walk a little bit faster, stand a little bit taller. If you're not busy, act like you are. You walk into an appointment, you don't spend like 3 hours in the appointment, you say, I got 45 minutes, and I'm gonna give you my undivided attention in 45 minutes, and then I got some other appointments I gotta run to. I don't care if it's the only appointment you have all day. You got an appointment to go make phone calls to get more appointments, right? So EEI all the time. Enthusiasm, excitement, intensity. Mozone is not just before the BPM. Mozone's all day in your office. Mozone's, hey guys, what's up? Every once in a while, when you got back-to-back appointments, you get out of your office and you go high-five everybody, you're fired up, man, things are happening. And we did that and said that before there was a lot of stuff happening. You speak it into existence. God said, let there be light first, and then there was light. You speak it into existence. What's the best way to create momentum? Say there's a lot going on. Find something going on. You go get 3 new numbers. There's so much momentum. I just got 3 new numbers. I just sat down with a new teammate. We made 10 calls and booked, 3 units of activity. Talk about anything good going on. Speak momentum into existence. Then the people who aren't doing anything start feeling like, oh, dang, something's going on. I better start doing something. Here's what you don't do. Could anybody do something? No. It drives me crazy. I have some teammates that sometimes if the office is slow, they're like, oh, no one's at the office. I'm like, don't ever post that on our line chat, ever. Ever. You gotta act like a lot's going on so people feel like they're missing out, no matter what. So you man, I'm here, that's all I need. I'm getting things done, I'm making things happen, right? Speak momentum into existence, so EEI all the time. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Simple presentation, duplicatable. If you can say the same thing with less words, do it. Right? Don't add stuff. It's a simple 6-step system. That's it. And then the rapid, relentless repetition of those 6 simple steps leads to what? What does that say? Inevitable explosion. What does inevitable mean? It's bound to happen. It's a for sure. It's a guaranteed. So right now you're excited. You've been given a lot of information and you're like, what do I go do now? What's the first thing you do? Make a list. Step 1, prospect. You make a list. Right now, you know there's people already you've been thinking about. I gotta talk to so-and-so. So-and-so should have been here. I gotta meet with this person. That person said no to me, but I gotta go back now. Now I know what to say. Now I have more conviction. Now I have more clarity. You make a brand new list. That's the first thing you do. Step 1, you make a brand new list. Then what do? You call it. Or if you're not confident enough, you match up with your leadership and you make those calls. It does no good to write a list and never call them. You call it, and then what do? Present. You do a one-on-one, or they come to a BPM, a group presentation or individual, right? You present, or your leadership presents for you if you're not ready. How simple is that? You don't even have to do the talking. Somebody else will. Number 4, then what happens? Follow up. You follow up. They're either going to become a recruit or a client or both. Or if they're not interested, next, who cares? We're looking for the ones looking for us. Then what do? Number 5, start them up. Start them up with a plan or start them up with an AMA and a fast start appointment. And then what? Number 6, duplicate. They give you either referrals as a client or a top 25 as a recruit, and you start all over again. And you do that over and over and over again. And what ends up happening is an inevitable explosion. And then people will say things to you like they say to me at the event, how did you do it? What happened? We just did the system long enough, and then it exploded. That's it. That's it. It's the stop and go that hurts you. It's the stop and go that hurts you. So, drive your business. Invites, appointments, butts and seats, follow-up. You're the driver. Don't wait for somebody else to do it for you. You're in the driver's seat. You drive it. You're driving invites. You don't tell your team, invite people. No, you're making calls off their list to get guests for them. Does that make sense? You're the driver. Love your people. Love your people. Sometimes I have a girl on my team. She's more of a technical person. She's like, I just don't know, how to love people. And sometimes it comes easier for others than other people. But I told her, I was like, listen, you get to know your people, you'll fall in love with them. Even if you don't really like someone, let's just say there's someone that you don't really like, haven't you found that once you heard their story, all of a sudden you saw them in a new light and you just had feelings of compassion and love for them? When you're in a car driving to a field training appointment with a teammate, ask them about them. Your team wants to be known by you. They want to be known. So I love asking people when they're, how'd you meet as a married couple? That's my favorite. I love hearing how couples meet. How'd you meet? And you know what? They no matter what's going on in their relationship, it brings them back to that feeling of when they first met. And they start feeling love, and they like it. And they're like, you're so cute. We're so cute, right? So ask about their families. I love field training the team because I get to meet their whole family. Our teammate, our SMD $100,000 earners just got married, and I go and I'm like, all my clients are in the room. Their aunts, their uncles. I'm like, hey guys. And it's like, I know all of them, their aunts, their uncles, their best friends, and that's so fun. So love your people. Tell them you believe in them. Tell them you see them, man, I see you on that stage next year, right? Next thing. Associate with winners. You gotta guard your association like crazy. You gotta associate with people who are succeeding more than you, doing more than you. It's easy for me when I hang out with my friends to feel like I'm doing pretty good. I'm making more money than all of them. But when I went to Uganda and I was with Jeff Levitan and Jamie Villalobos and Michael Coleman and Dana Lagatuda, I was the lowest income earner on that trip. That's when you know you're at the right place. When you're the lowest income earner in the room, that's the right room to be in. Because they stretch your vision and they push you up and they're all buying artwork in Dubai. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Rich Thali method of just saving my money. Right? Like, nah, it's cool, I'm just gonna save it. Right? But that was exciting for me to be in that, like, that stretched my vision even more. Associate with people doing more than you, succeeding in you. Sometimes you're like the #1 guy in the office and you think you're pretty good. Till you go to a convention and you're like, oh dang, or till you hear Leland speak and you're like, oh dang, like, I better get my butt going, right? So that's so good. Associate with people doing better than you. And then #9, have fun. Did I have a number 10? Oh yeah. Have fun. This is fun. Don't take it so seriously. When somebody quits on you or you get a chargeback, you know what I think? Jeff probably had more people quit on him. Next. Like, don't worry about it. I'm such an emotional person. I used to get someone quit or somebody cancel on me. It would take me out for weeks. I learned not to do that. Didn't serve me. So have fun. Make it funny. Luckily, I'm married to a really funny guy who's super fun. So he's like, nothing matters to him. We have this great dichotomy where he thinks nothing matters and I think everything matters. So we meet somewhere in the middle and it's a good combo, right? But go around somebody who's funny and have fun and lighten it up. This business is fun. Hasn't this been fun? The most. And then #10, compete. Compete and get to work. You gotta work. Nothing replaces work. Nothing replaces hard work. Nothing replaces with finding somebody on the list. I know their numbers. I love Leland and Wasma, but heck, I want to beat them, right? They want to beat us. They are beating us in the base shop right now, and I can't stand it. I just can't stand it, right? Get to work. Put in the work. Man, there are days when I come home and I've given it everything I had. It's impossible. I'm driving home from the field, and my eyelids are so heavy. And I get there and I like barely walk up the stairs. I can't even take my makeup off my face, and Adam will come with a makeup wipe. I'll wipe off my makeup. And those are the days where I just feel so fulfilled because I gave it everything I had. Test what you're made out of, guys. Why? Because it's worth it. Because it's worth it. It's worth it more than you even know. It's worth it to take your family on dream destinations. It's worth it for your kids to see sacrifice and hard work. Man, I'm with my kids a lot, but I'm working a lot too, but I love that they see that life is more than just our family. It's bigger than just our family. It's about others. It's about serving others. Right? I love that Hawaii is like a family tradition. My daughter's like, when's Hawaii? When's Hawaii? It's coming up. It's not will we go, it's when we go. I love associating with people with amazing mentors. It's worth it. It's worth it to achieve your goals and dreams. It's worth it to work hard. It's worth it to flex your muscle and know that you're capable of it. It's so much fun. It's not like when you think like, I'm gonna go to Disneyland and it's gonna be fun, and then there's lines and it's hot and it's not as fun as you thought. Winning in this business, it's more fun than you thought. It's better than you even dreamed it to be. Why? Because of the person who you became in the process. Because not only do you experience all these great things, you look in the mirror and you're just so proud of who you are. And it's because you are worth it. You worth it. You know, 7 years ago, actually 8 years ago, it'll almost be 8 years, my oldest daughter just turned 8. And when she was 7 weeks old, my dad's a super, hardworking, athletic kind of guy. And he grew up in the mountains. He grew up in Nevada and went to school in Colorado. So he's a mountain man. My mom's a beach woman, so my dad always says I'm a mountain man exiled to the beach by my wife. But so one day, my mom's an SMD on our team. We had a Super Saturday. So my dad decided it was winter. This would be a good time. Snow was coming. Snow's good. I'm going to go on a cross-country ski trip by myself. And people go, why did your dad go by himself? Well, because who wants to go cross-country skiing? No one. So he goes by himself. So he drives 2 hours from where we live to Palm Springs area where there's a San Jacinto mountain. And he checks in and they go, there's a storm coming in at around the afternoon, around 4 o'clock. My dad's like, oh, I'm not worried about that. There are other people on the mountain. I'm planning on being back well before the storm comes in. So he goes on his trip and my dad's competitive and my dad does his thing and pushes himself because that's who he is, but he's getting older. And so the storm comes and his tracks from where he was going got covered up. So he thought he was following his tracks back to where he needed to go to get to the chair thing. And he was following different tracks and he got lost. And a snow white blizzard came over the mountain. So my mom gets home from the Super Saturday and it gets later and later and my dad's not home. And it was really weird because normally he'd do a day trip, he'd be home by 5, right? Done by 3, home by 5. So 6 o'clock comes, she starts getting worried. She calls his phone. It rings, goes to voicemail. She's like, that's really weird. She calls me. She's like, I'm really worried. I'm like, oh, maybe his phone died. She's like, but it's ringing. And I was like, well, maybe he stopped. I don't know, that's weird. She's like, something's not right. So she calls the place and they go, well, we don't know. The last chair comes down at 8 p.m. He might still be up at the mountains eating. My mom's like, he doesn't eat by himself. He's like a go to work, come home kind of guy, And she's like, something's not right. So at 8 o'clock, they're like, call us at 8 and we'll see. 8 o'clock, he still hadn't come off the mountain. They check the parking lot, his car's still there. So he's somewhere on the mountain during a snow white blizzard at 8 p.m. at night. He goes all through the night in that blizzard. The next day, it was still so snowy, a helicopter, search and rescue couldn't even go to the top of the mountain because it was too dangerous. I remember being up in the night feeding my baby and it being so cold in my house, thinking, where's my dad? The whole next day, they don't find him. The whole next night, it's now a second night. We're thinking, he's dead. He's gone. Maybe he hit his head. Who knows? Your mind starts thinking of all these crazy things. What is my mom gonna do? What about their business? We might need to move in with her. She might need to move in with us. Oh my gosh, all these crazy things. My whole family drives to Palm Springs that second day. I'm with all the kids because I just had a newborn. I can't take not being with my family. Finally, I'm like, everybody get in the car. We're driving to Palm Springs too. I got all the kids, everybody else's kids, plus my newborn. And we start driving. This is the 3rd day to Palm Springs. And now this day is sunny. And I'm like, thank God for the sun. And I get a call while we're driving to Palm Springs. They found your dad. He's alive. I get there just in time to be there when they found him on the mountain. Search and rescue brings him up. They cover him with blankets. They give him water. I see him come off the plane. They literally drop him at the hospital. And he looks like he'd aged about 10 years and lost about 15 pounds in 2 nights. I go to see him in the hospital room. His feet are black with frostbite. And I sit there and I asked him, Dad, what was your thought? What happened? And he talks about how he basically figured, I'm not going to be found tonight. So he made a little snow cave and slept in this snow cave. And then it was really, really cold, he said. The second night, he knew how to make the cave better, so it was easier. And by the 3rd day, he knew if I don't get found today, I have to get found today. So when he said that, I said, Dad, what was your thought? What were the thoughts going through your mind when you were in that cave? Did you ever think for 1 second you wouldn't make it? He's like, not for 1 second. My mind never, not for 1 second, went there. All I was thinking was, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I have a grandson who needs me. I have a 16-year-old son still who needs me. I have all these employees in my business who still need me. All he was thinking about was why he must live. Why he must. Why he was worthy of living. And so he lived. And on the contrast, I have 1 minute and 30 left. This might take me 5 minutes to share the story, but I'm telling you it's worth it. During the last 2 months of our run, October and November, my sister, you guys heard my story. My mom couldn't bear children after me. My parents adopted 3 siblings. So I have 3 adopted siblings. When I was 7 years old, my parents adopted an 8-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter who are biologically related. Their parents died of AIDS. And so overnight at 7, I got an 8-year-old brother and a 3-year-old sister who lost their parents because of a terrible disease. And my 3-year-old sister always struggled. Thankfully, she was born without AIDS, which was a miracle. But her mom was so sick that she couldn't really bond with her mom when she was born, my sister. And so she didn't really have much bonding, and she was kind of raised by volunteers, and then she was adopted into our family at the age of 3. And those first years are so formative. And so she struggled a lot. She had ADD. She never could really find the right friends. By 16 years old, she was a drug user, was getting high with whatever she could find, cough syrup, glue. My parents didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to help. So they put her in rehab. It was for young girls, a Christian. It was like school and rehab all in one. And we'd go visit her. Every month we'd go visit her. And by 18, she graduated the program and she came back home. She lived at home for about 6 months until she started using again and went on the streets. And for 10 years, she was on the streets, basically in Skid Row, between San Diego and LA, the poorest place, living on the streets as a meth and heroin user. And we'd go see her. I'd go visit her for lunch, every so often. And she started to progressively get worse and worse, skinnier, lose teeth. And I'd see her and we could still talk. She could kind of keep it together for that hour that we had lunch. And what was so crazy to me was I was like, here is this girl that we chose her to come to our family, to live in this beautiful home. My parents would pay for whatever college she wanted to go to. They would give her everything. With this family who loves her, just come home, just come home. But for whatever reason, she didn't feel worthy. And she had to choose that. She had to make a choice to step into that life. We couldn't choose it for her. We couldn't make her come. And of course there's addiction, and of course there's issues. It was hard for her from the beginning. It was bound to be. And she was addicted to drugs and she couldn't let go. But it was so crazy for me to think that might be an extreme example, but I think in our own life, what's possible for us and what's waiting for us is this great life. And sometimes for whatever reason, we don't think we're worthy. And so we stay in this place of mediocrity when it's like there's so much more for you. And I would just tell her, we love you, we want you, come home. But she couldn't do it. And so finally, last year during the holiday, she called my parents and she said, I want to go to rehab. I want to come home. So she went to detox, she went to rehab, she came home, she lived at home for 4 months. My parents helped her all medically get better, get new teeth. I mean, she was like we'd come love on her and all this stuff. And there was a man that she knew from the streets who had also gotten better. He started visiting her. And he fell in love with her, and she fell in love with him, and they got married on Christmas Day 1 year ago at my parents' home on Christmas Day with all of us there. And then they moved to Missouri because they both needed to get out of their environment in LA, and his family was from Missouri. So they move to Missouri, they get jobs. Well, I got a call October from James, her husband, and he said, Alex is in the emergency room, and now And now in ICU, she basically had cirrhosis of the liver. She had had hepatitis C, and when she went to Missouri, she wasn't treating it. And it got worse and worse, and she started drinking alcohol, and the two things combined, she got super sick, fought going to the doctors, finally goes to the doctors, and it was like emergency. So she's in ICU, had cirrhosis of the liver, pneumonia, and then became septic in the room because of an infection got in her bloodstream. So they're like, she's not gonna make it. And I was like, what? They don't think she's gonna make it. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean she's not gonna make it? Like, why did she start drinking? And I start getting angry. Why did she do that? Doesn't she know that she has this whole life? Why did she start drinking? And he's like, she just didn't feel worth anything. And so my parents are in Europe for 3 weeks. I buy a plane ticket and I fly there the next day. And I sit at her bedside and she's unconscious on these machines, all hooked up. And for 2 days, I just sit at her bedside and I tell her how much she's loved and how much she's worthy of love and how I dropped everything. This is the 6 weeks before the last day of our CEO run. It's the last week of October. I said, I dropped everything because you're worth it. Adam's got the kids, the business is running. I came here because your life is worth it. And first she started to get better, you guys. The doctors were like, this is a miracle. They didn't think it would work. They didn't think, but I couldn't stay there forever. So I flew back home, and my brother went, and then my parents came home, and about 2 weeks later, she started getting progressively worse and worse and worse. And then the last week of our run, it was Sunday, I got the call that she's days before making it. And I wanted to see her when she was awake. Now she was 2. I was like, I need to see her because last time I was there, she was unconscious. So again, and it was hard to make the sacrifice. I wanted to hit CEO so bad, which I know sounds terrible. But I did, and I was like, this is the worst timing. That thought went through my mind. This is the worst timing for my sister to be dying. And so, I know, it's terrible. Sometimes I'm too honest. But I got on that plane and I flew there. And the minute they picked me up from the airport, we went to the hospital and I walk in there and she was asleep and I come to her side and she wakes up. And I start crying. I'm like, dang it, you couldn't keep it together? You couldn't be strong for her? And she says, why are you crying? I said, why? And she couldn't talk. She had something in her throat, but she could move her mouth. She could move her lips, and I'm a really good lip reader, and she could speak with her eyes. And I could tell everything she was saying. I said, because I love you, and because I'm sad. And she said, I said, but here's what I know. And I know, I said, you're gonna get a new body. And you're gonna be free. And she lifted up she said to me, she lifted up her gown and her stomach was all puffed out and yellow and purple. And it was like just there's bruises all over her arms. And she basically lifted up her gown and she said, basically she was saying, what is this life? And she said to me, I want to let go. I said, okay. You can let go. She'd been on life support for 6 weeks. What would the quality of her life be? I said, okay. She said, can you tell mom and dad? So I bring them over, and then they hear. She said, can you tell James? So James comes, and James is mad. Then the doctors come in, and we have this whole talk. Basically what the options were. If she didn't let go, it was just prolonging the inevitable. And it would be painful, and it would be hard. So she made the decision fully conscious for us to unplug the machines, her fall asleep, to not wake up again. And so here we are, all in this room, as they unplug the machines with her. And she says to me, can you make sure I still look pretty? I was like, you're beautiful. We still want to look pretty. Isn't that crazy? And I was like, let me just tweeze those black hairs real quick. We're good. I would want someone to do it for me, right? so she's laying there, and you have to have some humor in those times, right? And we're all there, her whole family. She tells us how much she loves us. We tell her how much she loves you. She falls asleep, and we wait there until 11 p.m. at night when the visiting hours are closed. We leave, and about 30 minutes after, she passed away. And the next day, I had to be on a webinar call for a CEO to be call. The next day, and we had to go to the hospital and figure out the body, all that stuff, you know? And I'm in my hotel room, and I get on this call. And to be honest, you guys, at that point, I didn't care about hitting CEO. I didn't care about anything. Nothing mattered. Like, nothing seemed to matter at that point. Where I was on the leaders bulletin, I didn't care. But what I was grateful for was that I had built a business long enough that at any point I could spend the freaking $800 to get a last-minute flight, get to her, sit at her bedside when she needed it. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about time. Nothing mattered. I could do that because we put in the work. And on that screen, though, I'm sitting at that CEO call, that webinar call, and I didn't care about hitting CEO at that point. But as I heard Ed Milet speak on that call, and then Adam and I, we were #1 golf score between the September, October, November time period on that call, the people that were picked to be on that call. So after that call, they asked us to speak. I'm like, how do I speak right now? And inside me, here's what I felt. I felt like I'm still alive. And my team has been working so hard this year. And heck, so have we. We deserve, I believed we deserved to hit CEO. I just believed it. And so when John Pham called on me to speak, I said, here's the thing. My team worked it, and I worked so hard, and we just needed 2 more SMDs out of our base shop. And I said, I'm not leaving my team during the final hour. I'm going to be there for them. We're going to make this happen. I'm flying back tomorrow morning, and we're going to close out this week strong, and we're going to make it happen because my team deserves it, because they've been working so hard. And John Pham said to me, EVC in the company, he said, you know what, Johanna? You deserve it too. And I believed him. Because I thought about all those late nights. I thought about the fear that I gave up, the doubt, all the hard work, and I realized I deserved it. I was worth it. So I went home, and we did it. We freaking got the SMDs. We got it done. We were up. It was the most fun we ever had. We made it happen. And then I got a text from Greg Kapp that said, I'm so freaking proud of you. He said, because I've been able, God has given me the ability to see the invisible. I'm the only person who knows how much adversity you've truly overcome. And I just cried, and I said, how are we so blessed to have been in this company, to be able to do it? The difference between my dad and my sister was he believed he was worth it. He had purpose. He had reasons why. What are your reasons why? Why are you here? You're worth it. You are worthy of success. You deserve it. Go work hard, and you'll see. You work hard, and you're like, heck, I freaking deserve it. Go build a big base shop. I love you. You're worth it.
And she got me.
So amazing.